I gotta know your thoughts, because this is a guy that you've worked with very closely over the past, over your career in WWE. He's been in WWE for a very long time, and all the social media uproar about JBL. What are your thoughts about that?
Oh, well, I'm a JBL fan. I mean, here's the thing about JBL. You gotta know the guy, and if you don't get an opportunity to really know JBL, you can be offended, and because he does. Oh, hey, can we get somebody to take that call over there? We got a phone ringing here at the restaurant. What the? That's a takeout order, Glenn. I'm sure.
Now, Jerry, the biggest complaint we had in the first show was the phone ringing. Now we're
I
back to
don't
the
know
phone
how
ring.
this is happening. I told our staff over there. Here, somebody, can you get that? Thank you. Back to JBL. I mean, to me, this is all. It's just JBL is a funny guy, and he's a big guy, and he's boisterous, and he comes across as sometimes crude and loud and that sort of thing. But you got to know him. I mean, that's just JBL, and he's old school enough that a lot of the things that he still do. That just doesn't happen anymore. And I think we talked about on one of the podcasts, because down in Memphis when I started and when people started, ribs and jokes and ribs in the locker room were just a thing of it was just a normal thing you put up with or you had fun doing. And it was not to be taken serious or anything like that. But JBL is a holdover of that kind of wrestler. I mean, everything that JBL does or says to him is a rib. I mean, it's not to be taken serious. But unfortunately, in these days and times, a lot of people, if you don't know the guy, you will wind up taking some of the things that he says serious, and it can maybe be hurtful or hurt somebody's feelings. But I promise you, that's just John. He's just the kind of guy that is you can take everything that he says with a grain of salt. His commentary and he's like the same character in catering or anytime you run into him. So I mean, I have a lot of respect for him. I like John and I've never had 1 minute's problem with him. But you gotta know John. You got to know that he's there are a lot of guys that are not like that are totally different. Handsome Jimmy Valiant comes to mind. I mean, when you put Handsome Jimmy Valiant in front of a TV screen, he's, "Whoa, brother, I'm the Handsome Jimmy from Memphis, Tennessee." But off camera, he's like, "Hey, brother, how are you? Yeah." He's over here chilling, and you just, But JBL is the same way on and off camera. He's just he's loud, he's boisterous, he seems arrogant, and sometimes obnoxious, and that's just his character, and he's just that way. So I think in these days of social media where everybody has a voice. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, too, on the podcast. Everything you say, anything you say is going to offend somebody somewhere. And now that somebody somewhere has a voice through Twitter or through social media that they can complain, say that, "Oh, I'm offended." And, and I think that's what's happened here with JBL. It's just it's getting blown way out of proportion, and no harm was meant. And so that's my take on the whole thing. Hopefully it'll all blow over.
Now, I mean, I want to play devil's advocate because I like JBL a lot. I like his commentary. As a wrestler, I thought he was great. His persona as a wrestling god was terrific and entertaining. I'm gonna play devil's advocate and just say, in the times we are now, don't you think that since I'm sure the locker room is a lot different than it was back in the day. I'm sure ribs aren't as extreme as they were back, when you were, in Memphis and whatnot.
I mean, that was like the rib we talked about last week with Ricky and Robert Gibson on the show. I mean, when you would give some young guy the equilibrium test, where he would be almost blindfolded or his hands over his eyes, and he's trying to, he's walking backwards with his finger out, trying to touch a marked off spot on the wall, and he winds up sticking his finger in some guy's butt. I mean, that was a rib. And and yeah, you're right. If you did something like that today in these politically correct times, this PC environment that we're forced to live in now, oh my gosh, that would be sexual harassment. That would be all sorts of things. But it's a freaking rib, and it always was, and it always should be. Come on, lighten up, people, lighten up.
But do you? And I've read some tweets that JBL is a cancer to professional wrestling. Is that a little bit too extreme?
That's way too extreme. That's stupid. He's a what?
A cancer.
How is that? What do you? I don't get that. What? That's crazy.
I agree. And like I said, I don't know JBL. I'm just this is going off other wrestlers who have interacted with him or had gotten ribbed by him and taken it personal. But it's calling for his job, I think, is a little bit too extreme.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, hey, I'm just trying to think of some of the different ribs that we used to do. Like, I threw a snake on Tojo Yamamoto one time, and the guy was deathly afraid of snakes, and he literally went to his locker room and pulled a gun out and pointed a gun at me. I mean, a loaded gun.
Jeez.
After I threw the snake on him. I mean, but it was all a rib. So I mean, things can get taken too far and get blown out of proportion, and I just think that's what's happened.
Bottom line is, we can't see JBL losing his job over anything, right?
I don't. No, I mean, but hey, once again, that's my opinion. No, I don't at all. Certainly not over something like this.